Hello all. Today we'll understand SAS export procedure, which is also called that Proc export. So let me go to the full screen of the PPT. So in this session I'll be starting with what and why of Proc export. So under what and why I'll be covering that why we need a Proc export and what we can achieve out of it. Then I'll quickly move to the how part, under which I'll be covering the syntax and I'll help you to understand the syntax in part by part fashion. Then we'll understand some of the examples which will bolster our understanding further. So without wasting much of our time, I should quickly move to what and why of Proc export. Now in real-time scenarios, we all might have got a situation in which we might have to export an entire SAS dataset or a part of SAS dataset to altogether different file formats. Say for example your Microsoft Excel sheets or your CSV or any other kind of text files. So in such cases, to achieve that, we need Proc export. So what we can achieve out of Proc export is we can export the SAS dataset to Microsoft Excel files, Excel spreadsheets such as your XLS or .xlsx formats, or we can export the SAS dataset to a external delimited file such as your space delimited files or your tab delimited files, CSVs or any other sort of delimited text files, or we can even export the entire SAS dataset to other DBMS formats so that we can provide a means of input to other database systems. Now moving to the how part, that is the syntax part. So the syntax of Proc export starts with the basic keyword, as any other procedure will do, is Proc export. This is the basic keyword. We have to write it so that SAS will understand now we are starting a Proc export engine here. Then we have to define which data we have to output. So here I am using we can use a single level reference or a double level reference of a SAS dataset. So that's why the library reference is optional here. So if library reference is not there, definitely SAS will go to the work library by default and search for the given SAS dataset name. So we'll start off the dataset which we want to export. Then we can apply some of the SAS datasets options such as your where conditions, in which we want to subset the dataset. If we want to just export few of the observations, then we can use a where condition over here, where clause over here. Then we have to define the output location along with the file name. So under the out file option, out file statement, we have to provide the entire absolute path where we want to keep the exported file, as well as the file name with the extension. Then we have the out table. Out table we generally require when we are outputting the entire SAS dataset to a different DBMS format. Then we have to provide the out table name. Then the next, we have to provide a DBMS identifier such that to help understand SAS that which kind of file we are generating. If suppose I am generating a XLS file, then the identifier will be XLS. If I am generating a CSV file, then the DBMS identifier will be a CSV. Does that help understand SAS that which kind of file I am generating out of it? Then we have few other optional statement, which is one of is label. If we provide a label statement here, then in that case the labels which are there will remain intact, and in place of variable names the label will be printed. And another thing we have is replaces statement. Replace is nothing but if suppose you want to overwrite the output file which you have defined in the out file statement. If you want to overwrite again and again whenever SAS is running this procedure, in that case you have to give replace. So replace is nothing but it will put an attribute to the output file saying that it can be overwritten. Then we have another optional statement which is delimiter. If suppose you have to provide your own custom delimiter such as your pipe or ampersand, in that case we have to use a delimiter statement and then provide the required delimiter under the double quotes. And then we have to close Proc export by giving a run. Now the most crucial thing to note here is the location of this particular semicolon, which has been highlighted by a red circle. If you look very carefully, this is the very first semicolon we have encountered after doing a majority chunk of work. After proc export, there is no semicolon. Then we have defined the dataset which needs to be exported. We have defined the absolute path and the path and file name to the file which we have to populate. Then we have identified which kind of file we are generating. Either we have to replace the entire file or not. We have done majority chunk before the very first semicolon in proc export. This is very crucial and we have to always keep a note of it. And then comes the delimiter part, which always comes after the first semicolon. So we have to remember this nitty-gritty. Now I know it is getting a bit complex here, so don't worry, we'll just quickly understand few of the examples and I'm sure that it will be very helpful. So moving to the very first example. Now this example, what I am doing is I am just exporting the entire SAS dataset to a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. So recently Microsoft had upgraded its Excel software. So prior to 2003 and lower formats, we have to use the first export procedure, in which I am doing nothing. I am just defining that under SAS help library I have a SAS dataset which needs to be exported to this particular location with this file name, and notice carefully that I have given the extension also as XLS, and the DBMS identifier remains as XLS. Since I am exporting it to MS Excel, then the identifier will always be XLS. Then replace, again optional, I prefer it, so I have given replace, so that this particular file, which is class.xls, that can be overwritten as and when this export procedure is run. Now if suppose you have to export it to the Excel spreadsheet which is there with you from MS Excel 2007 and above, in those cases you have to provide .xlsx as the extension, and the DBMS identifier is now changed to XLSX. Now this procedure we require when we are exporting into 64-bit format of MS Excel spreadsheet, and this feature is only available from SAS 9.3 and above. If you are using SAS 9.2 or below, I'm not sure whether you can use it. I think you can't. So but for sure, if you are using SAS 9.3 and above, you can use this functionality. So moving to the next example, in which we have to export the entire SAS dataset or a part of a SAS dataset to a CSV file. So what I have changed here is, now I am here using a dataset option wherein I am applying a where condition to subset my dataset. So now I am subsetting it to a variable sex having only value as f. Now only that particular observations which are meeting this particular condition will be output to a CSV file. So notice carefully, I have changed the extension here to .csv, and now the DBMS identifier is also changed to a CSV, and everything else remains the same. So what happens with that, as soon as I'll run this particular example, I'll get a CSV file in which my entire data is separated by a comma. That's it. Moving to the third example, in which I am exporting to external delimited text file. Herein I am using a custom defined delimiter, so I want my dataset to be delimited by a pipe. So again here entire export procedure remains the same, entire syntax remains the same, just that few alterations here. First of all, I have changed the extension of the out file to .txt, since I cannot use a CSV or XLS because it is a custom defined text file, custom delimited text file, so I have to use a .txt. Then the DBMS identifier is changed to DLM, which is very important since it's a delimited file. Altogether new delimiter I am using, so I have to give the DBMS as DLM. And then after the first semicolon, I am providing delimiter as pipe. So if you want to use any other delimiter after this delimiter statement under single quotes or a double quotes, you have to provide the required delimiter. Say if you want to delimit your data by an ampersand, so in place of this pipe you can give an ampersand symbol, and that's it. Run this procedure. So I'll be getting a text file in which the data is delimited by a pipe or a pipe delimiter. So this is it in this session. I hope you must have liked it. Thank you so much for attending this particular session. And to stay connected with more SAS tips and tricks, you can like us on Facebook. We have a page called as SAS tips and tricks, in which we can answer all such questions or any questions pertaining to sessions like these, or we keep on providing you some of the SAS tips and tricks. Thank you.